Judge Alistair Hayes ruled the city from his courtroom until the night his power became the reason he was killed. In the middle of the city, there was one man whose words mattered more than anyone else's. Judge Alistair Hayes did not just enforce the law in his courtroom. Whatever he said became the law. He controlled outcomes, decided futures, and protected the people who mattered to him. Powerful businessmen trusted him. Politicians depended on him. And over time, he started believing something dangerous, that no one could ever touch him. But he made one mistake, a mistake that put him in the sight of someone who couldn't be controlled. To understand how Judge Hayes fell, you first need to understand how powerful he was. For over 20 years, he wasn't just another judge. He was the judge. In public, he looked perfect. He gave speeches about honesty and justice. He attended charity events. Law students admired him. Lawyers respected him. People believed he stood for order. But inside the courtroom, things were very different. Judge Hayes had built strong relationships with the richest and most powerful people in the city. Business owners, politicians, and developers all knew one thing. If Judge Hayes was on their side, they would win. Cases disappeared, charges were dropped, evidence was ignored, and in return, Judge Hayes lived a life of comfort and luxury. He did not see himself as corrupt. He saw himself as untouchable. To him, the city was his kingdom, and everyone else was just playing a role in it. One Thursday morning, a small case appeared in Judge Hayes's courtroom. It didn't seem important at all. A young student named David Miller had filed a harassment complaint against Julian Thorne. Julian Thorne was not an ordinary name in the city. He was the son of Marcus Thorne, one of the most powerful businessmen in the region and a very close ally of Judge Hayes. The incident was simple. Julian had bullied and threatened David during a road argument. There were witnesses and there was fear written all over David's face, but none of that mattered. Judge Hayes barely listened. He dismissed the evidence quickly and ruled in Julian Thorne's favor. The entire case was finished in less than an hour. Before leaving, Judge Hayes even mocked the complaint, calling it a waste of the court's time. To Judge Hayes, it was just another routine decision, another favor done. Another powerful man kept happy. But what he didn't know was that someone else had seen everything, and that person would not forget. A few days later, Judge Hayes received a phone call from an unknown number. The voice on the line was calm and serious. The caller told him to reopen the case within 48 hours and deliver real justice. Otherwise, there would be consequences. Judge Hayes laughed. He had been threatened before. He believed this was just another empty warning. He ignored it. Still, something about the call bothered him, so he quietly increased security around his house. The man behind the call was a private detective. He had witnessed the road incident himself. He had seen how Julian treated David, and he had followed the case all the way to Judge Hayes's courtroom, where justice was buried without shame. He knew the system would not fix itself, so he decided to act outside it. He called himself the Invisible Mafia because he believed justice sometimes had to come from the shadows. Judge Hayes thought hiring more guards would protect him. Instead, it opened the door for his downfall. Some of the new guards were secretly working for the detective. They were trained, professional, and trusted quickly. That night, while the city slept, the plan finally moved forward. Judge Hayes believed his house was untouchable, protected by the best security money could buy. What he didn't know was that some of those guards were never truly his. His son returned home late, tired and unaware that anything was wrong. As his car entered the driveway, everything happened silently and fast. No alarms, no shouting. Within minutes, the judge's own son was gone. By morning, his room was empty and the house felt colder than ever. The next morning, before the news could even catch up, Judge Hayes received a call. The same calm voice spoke again. This time there was no warning, no threat disguised as words. "Your son is with us," the voice said. "Reopen the case, deliver real justice. When the truth is spoken in your courtroom, your son will return home." For the first time in his life, Judge Hayes felt fear take control. This was no longer a game of power. This was personal. This time, Judge Hayes did not laugh. He agreed immediately. The case was reopened and the city watched closely. But Judge Hayes still tried to play games. He delayed hearings and slowed things down, hoping the police would find the kidnappers first. He believed he could still control the situation, but the detective was always watching. When Judge Hayes delayed again, the phone rang. The voice warned him clearly, no more delays. If he tried to escape this, his son would suffer. Judge Hayes lost control. He called politicians. He called the police. He used every connection he had. Checkpoints were set up. Raids were done. But nothing worked. You can't catch someone who never shows himself. On the final court date, the courtroom was full. Media, lawyers, and powerful people filled the seats. Julian Thorne sat quietly, confident his father would fix everything. But Judge Hayes was no longer the same man. Fear had broken him. When he spoke, his voice was weak. He reviewed the evidence properly this time, acknowledged what had been ignored before. Then he gave the verdict: a heavy fine and 6 months in jail. The room went silent. Julian looked shocked. Julian Thorne did not walk free that day. For the first time in his life, money and influence failed him. He was taken into custody, sentenced to 6 months in prison, and fined heavily. The city watched in silence as a man who had never faced consequences finally paid the price. After the verdict was finally delivered, a car stopped quietly near Judge Hayes' home. His son stepped out, shaken but alive. The detective had kept his word. Justice had been forced, and the debt was paid. The detective disappeared. His mission was done. Judge Hayes thought it was over, but he had made a new enemy. Marcus Thorne did not forgive humiliation. He could not touch the detective, but he could touch the judge. Using money, he bribed a chef who served Judge Hayes regularly. The instructions were simple: add a chemical that would cause heart failure. Make it look natural. A few days later, Judge Hayes collapsed during lunch. He was rushed to the hospital. Within hours, he was dead. No investigation followed. The death was ruled natural. Judge Alistair Hayes ruled the city like a king. He believed power made him safe, but in the end, the same corruption he used to control others destroyed him. One act of forced justice exposed how broken the system really was. The city moved on, the powerful remained powerful, but one lesson stayed behind. When justice disappears, someone will always try to bring it back. Sometimes it comes from the shadows.